Jason, you ready?
I am, but let's give us a couple minutes to see if we can.
Kathy, you ready?
I'm just about there.
Hold it. Hold on. How come there's an echo here?
Okay, so she can hear everything through here.
I'm just looking.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, March, February 28th meeting. I got it.
And it's Monday.
It's Monday. What did I say, Tuesday? We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody could please join us. Pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, we're going to go into an executive session. It shouldn't be too long. Kathy, you want to read that?
Oh, hang on. Too bad here. I have the wrong agenda. Hang on.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I'll get it. Mass General Laws,
Sorry.
Mass General Laws 30A, Section 21, small a, number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, fire chief. We'll need a roll call vote to go into executive session. Jason?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 4 in favor, 1 absent. We'll be in executive session. Thank you for bearing with us. Public comment, we have none. Approve the warrants. Jason, do you have those?
Yes, I do. I'll make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2235 in the amount of $182,449.04.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I'll make a motion to approve bill warrant 2235 in the amount of $1,591,174.93, which breaks down to the town bills of $32,344.63. Pentucket.
So anyways, but yes.
Pentucket assessments, $1,017,753.33. Payroll withholdings, $65,543.08. Grants, $25,456.55. Water and sewer, $6,257.24. And light bills, $443,821.10.
Okay, the motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Approve the minutes, February 15th, 2022 meeting minutes. Anybody read those over? Do they look to be in order?
Yeah, I read them over. They look to be in order. I'd like to make a motion to approve Meeting minutes from Tuesday, February 15th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None? All in favor?
Wait, just, it doesn't note that I'm not present. It says two absent, but it doesn't say two was absent, who was absent. When you went into executive session, I don't know if that needs to be corrected.
It,
I didn't arrive until after the executive session at that meeting, because I was at the school board hearing. So it says, roll call to enter executive session, two absent, but it doesn't say who is absent. I mean, one can assume who was absent.
you came in,
After you guys were back,
no, you came in during the executive session.
I did come in. Did I roll call out then?
No, you roll called out, though. And
Right, I did
Dan
come-
came in during the,
So we both arrived in on that,
Yeah,
okay. So when you roll called in the two absent, is that obvious then? Do you think that's fine?
Yes.
yeah. yeah,
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Appointments. Appointment of Jillian Terry, 3 Parker Road, Groveland, to the position of reserve dispatcher, lockup keeper, effective February 28th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022. We have a recommendation from the police chief.
Motion to appoint Jillian Cherry from 3 Parker Circle, Groveland, to position of reserve dispatcher, lockup keeper, effective February 28th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Votes of the board. Field use permit, Washington Park, Groveland Baseball League. Mark, can we just give a half-hour explanation?
Mark Ringett, 25 Seven Star Road, president of Groveland Baseball League. So the permit is from March through the end of September 2022 for Groveland Baseball League's use of all 3 fields at Washington Park. The fields are strictly used by GBL. We max out the usage of the fields. I think I even talked to this board last year about possible time at Bagnell once in a while for additional practices. So the permit covers the usage of those fields through our spring season, our summer ball, and fall baseball that happens down at Washington Park.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody got any questions for Mark? None? Somebody want to make a motion, approve this?
A motion to approve the field use permit for Washington Park Groveland Baseball League.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you
for
very much.
waiting.
Appreciate it.
Mark,
Yeah.
the next item on the agenda is Shanahan, the youth soccer. So they actually have a list of the Bagnell when they want to use it.
Okay.
And it looks like it's only on Saturdays.
Okay.
So maybe you can get together and
Yeah, I might
work
need
out a deal.
possible couple weeknights.
A couple of days during the week, I
practices.
think they'd be amenable to,
Okay.
you
That'd
know.
be great. I'll connect with them for sure, and then we'll come back. Awesome.
Yeah. Good
Thanks,
luck.
Bill. Thanks.
Okay, our next field use permit, Shanahan Field, Groveland Youth Soccer. And we want to make a motion? We got the paperwork here.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the field use permit for Shanahan Fields by the Groveland Youth Soccer.
Well, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
Yeah. They're actually asking for both Shanahan Field and Bagnell Field. Looks like they want Bagnell Saturdays, 8 to 1, from April to June, and then August to November. They're also requesting Bagnell Fields on Saturday from 8 to 1. So they're actually requesting 2 fields.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
through you to Selectman O'Neill, the field at Bagnell it's the soccer field, right? There's a baseball field back there too, correct?
There are 2 baseball fields that I recall.
Okay.
They're not anything I think you can use for batting practice,
Okay.
but for fielding practice, infield, base running drills, things like that, they would be very useful, especially for the younger kids in the baseball program.
So where would the soccer field be?
Soccer field basically runs in the outfield from stem to stern, the length of the building,
Oh, okay.
I believe. I've never been down there to see him play soccer, so I'm just taking a shot in the dark. I think that's how they use it.
So you can have a baseball practice and the soccer
I don't think you
practice?
could do that at the same time. I think that would be rather
He's
difficult.
shaking his head, no, don't do that.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't recommend that at all. But where they only requesting Saturdays,
Okay,
that might give the GBL opportunities to use it Sunday through Monday a couple of times a week to
okay.
have additional practices.
So this is workable.
I think it's workable. I
Okay.
think the
Yeah, I
two
wouldn't
groups.
hit down there. Like I said, we'd use it for our younger crowd.
Yeah, I
Just
think
practice.
you guys get along fine. That we won't have to call the police down there to break us apart, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, we made a motion, right?
There's a motion.
You did.
And
I
a second.
seconded.
Okay.
I just wanted to make.
Further discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Property use permit, Pines Recreational Area, Knights of Columbus, Easter egg hunt. And we have the paperwork, they're requesting April 9th, 8 to 12, rain date, April 10th. There's a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the property use permit for Pines Recreation Area by the Knights of Columbus for their Easter egg hunt on, what was those dates?
That was April 9th with a rain date of April 10th.
April
Second.
9th through April 10th.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None? No, you had something? Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, what are the ages of the children? Anybody know? Anybody? Anybody?
No.
The ages of the children for the Easter egg hunt?
Bill, you're not allowed.
I know I'm not allowed.
Toddlers.
I feel like it was
Too
like
old.
little to like 8.
It's
You have to
just
sign
a
them up
hunt.
through
We
the,
hide eggs inside the playground for toddlers.
You to show up.
Outside the playground, back
They had eggs
for older
everywhere, and
kids.
They just said go, and all the kids run and grab as many eggs as you can.
oh, okay.
So basically, the little kids get gypped because they're not as fast.
Shorter legs, yeah, I know.
But no, it was really cute.
Didn't have that paper.
All right, thank you.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
All right,
Unanimous. Thank you. Discussion and possible vote. Christopher Proto of Donald Street, discussion concerning trash. Chris, you here? Step right up.
First of all, thank you for your time. If you don't mind if I want to go through my, my statements, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself so everybody knows, and then get right
Hello,
in.
my name is Christopher Proto. I live on 22 Dwinell Street, and I am fighting for the concern about the new trash policy of the collection. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. What's it called? I don't want to just go on the gist. I was annoyed when I saw that yellow slip saying like, oh, you're only going to take one barrel instead of just the two. So basically, if this was an executive decision, just let me know. The trash and waste management collection is a necessity, not a commodity. We, the citizens, are the ones that shouldn't have to suffer for this. So basically, my question is, why do citizens have to be essentially have to play this role of waste management services and have to scramble to find places to dump quote-unquote excess trash? If the only reason was basically the budget constraints, well, we certainly had enough room in the budget to build a new school, which I do not complain about. We should have had this school up and running about five years ago. But apparently we don't have any extra capital just to have the full access and ability to a service that happens once a week. If that's the case, then what was the point of changing the policy? We could just increase the taxes or find some new, changes in the budget. It wouldn't really make much of a difference. And I've heard that we've gotten several complaints about this policy before I even brought it up to the board. So why haven't we done that yet? I don't want to be rude or anything. Was it essentially logical to do that? Because for the past 2 years, as you can see, the pandemic has ridiculed on many people's lives, and everyone has to stay home, and their daily routine has to be essentially shifted. People have to stay home for work, school, etc. And basically, a household of two parents and basically 2 children essentially have, waste consumption about 2 barrels at least. Did you ever think about the amount of trash accumulation? Would you even consider that the trash accumulation would even decrease or stay the same? Apparently, you didn't think of that consideration. Unfortunately, your policy that the people shouldn't have to suffer this. And then last thing, essentially a couple other things. Unless you have a different provider of waste management, unfortunately, I feel like you guys should just have to bite the bullet and just have to have the 2 barrels of the consumption, because you don't have, unfortunately, we as a small town, we don't have enough bargaining power to basically make our own price. And I basically just hope that you guys take this into consideration in revising this new policy. For me and for folks that are considered on my side, we hope that this policy should be deserved where it belongs, in the trash.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Comments?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you for coming out. It's not always easy, especially coming up here and speaking.
No, I know. I wish younger generations would come out and express their opinions on policies
Yes.
like this. So
I'm assuming that the barrels you have must be 64 gallons.
yes.
So that's, because we limited it to 32 gallons,
I
plus
know.
unlimited recycling. Now, I know that in my family, I only have 1 child living at my house, although even though it feels like we have 15 with the amount of
Right.
people that come in and out of the house.
Exactly.
And I typically only have 1 barrel, 32-gallon barrel of trash, and maybe a barrel and a half of recycling. And I know that the policy came at a unopportune time, but the biggest realization that I think myself, was that the majority of people don't have that much waste, and they create a lot of unnecessary waste in not recycling responsibly and effectively. And this was a attempt to push towards that. You don't have to find another way to dispose of it. All you have to do
Right.
is buy the bags.
Yeah.
You buy the excess bags and you can get rid of whatever you like. I know I missed trash pickup because I didn't get it out in time, and I still didn't have 2 barrels,
Yeah.
the 32-gallon barrels full. So it's when I drive down the street, I don't see many people that have more than a barrel or 2 barrels. I think that's the exception to the rule. So I don't think it affects nearly as many people as expected. I mean, in terms of complaints, we've had 4. Dan, I know, is one of them. Our
That's used to have.
Board of Health, one of the Board of Health officials was the second one. And ultimately, it was to help combat the increase in the cost, because the cost went up roughly over the next 5 years.
It's bad.
What was it, 460,000?
But it's, yeah, I mean, the cost of trash is out outstripping our ability
So
under
unless-
Prop 2.5.
Unless we, as a society, really starts to curb that and try to focus on getting more recyclables, which we have an opportunity, depending on the recyclable market, of recouping some of that money, then you're gonna be looking at property taxes that are gonna drive people, particularly the older people who have very little trash, out of their homes. And it's just not something that I think I felt comfortable in doing. So that's why this Waste Zero was another option to limit the amount of trash, make people attempt to recycle more responsibly, and then if not, then they had the option of paying to get rid of the trash.
So then what are
by
supposed
buying
people
the
do?
bags.
What are people supposed to do if the recycling bins are full? And what do? You just, you know.
Get another recycling
I mean-
bill because there is another recycling barrel because your recycling is unlimited
Oh, you're allowed to have unlimited
for recycling. Yes.
recycling. Okay. Well, because I saw in the census there's about 6,752 residents here, and there's about 2,448 households that have at least 3 to 4 people, not including pets or anything. So I was just saying that, you know, what we had for trash was kind of like what we had. I mean, I've been here for 22 years. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I've never seen any policy changes like that. I mean, my parents now have to physically dispose the trash somewhere else because of this policy. Like, my dad probably has garbage in his truck right now. I mean,
Why didn't he buy the bags?
how am I supposed to know? We wouldn't have this discussion if, you know,
just
this
seems,
policy didn't change.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't, but then we would have an additional tax override. And like I said, that's pushing people that can't afford the property tax, that are on fixed incomes. They don't even produce that much trash. We have a very extensive senior population here. And it's very difficult to make them responsible for paying for a lot of services that they don't get to use.
Dan, you had a comment?
Yeah, I share some of your sentiments. I mean, you talked about the school and, you know, the town goes to town meeting and votes on things. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I mean, people's eyes are bigger than their wallets in many cases. So they want it all, and you got to pay. I vote fairly consistently against most big projects. I don't need it, don't want it guy, but I'm a minority. You know, people want new schools. I'm like, how about a new heating system? How about books? What we got coming up on deck, triple deck, double deck? You know, the school district wants another $9 million over 3 years. Stay tuned. People got to get involved. We barely have a quorum at town meeting. We have to go flag people down on the main road to get 100 people at a town meeting. So, you know, you get the democracy that you participate in. And, you know, I hope people pay attention, and I don't want to get political, but, I mean, around the world, democracy is important. People die for it. So here in America, I think we got a little too lax, and we take it for granted. So if you care about taxes and you want to spend money the way you see and not the way other people see fit, get involved. I'm, you know, frequently on the end of a 4-to-1 vote. You know, I'd rather have them spend money on books than buildings, because a building never did any work in my experience, and a building never educated my children. But again, I think differently, and I'm critical of Massachusetts. I'm conservative, you know, and people want it all. They want the parks, they want the rail trails, they want everything, and your taxes go up. So then we get stuck with a budget. We have Prop 2.5 in Massachusetts, and this town is, you know, restricted by that unless we have a Prop 2.5 override, and people don't want to go above 2.5%, typically. That's going to be put to the test this year, next year, and the year after. We're in a hyperinflationary period. So, you know, where I could be critical of the past board for not putting the trash contract out to bid. We got a 5-year contract. I think we're going to inflate ourselves out of it, whether we pay too much or not. I mean, time's going to tell, but we're in a hyperinflationary period. I don't think that's going to change in the short term. I voted against, reducing the barrels to 4. I think we could squeeze it out of the budget. I kid around. I say I'm not going to pay $2.50 for a purple bag. I'd rather get my backyard incinerator going or something. But, I don't think that would be legal. Would that be legal, Mike? Backyard landfill, But anyways, I'm not a Mr. Green New Deal, but I'm not, for bringing back a lot of gas either. But, we have to balance the budget. If whatever people can do to manage their waste, we are a wasteful
Dan, can you
people.
wrap it up?
Yeah. So that's the reason for it was stuck. But you got to get involved to make change.
Bill, you got anything?
I know you mentioned the school, and again, that's never a good argument, because I know what I can get out of education. Not sure what I can get out of trash. But the question I want to ask you is if we don't have this policy, because we pay by the pound,
By the town.
the trash is by the pound. So if you're allowed to basically throw it as much as you want, why should Mrs. Johnson down the street, who lives on a fixed income, that feels guilty about throwing out 1 barrel of trash, subsidize your trash pickup?
Just like the same reason about 5 years ago when the residents knocked down the, didn't have the opportunity for the school. I could have had the education, for that new school that's being built up, but unfortunately, we do have a older population that had the majority of that, so, it's unfortunate, but
And
I didn't mean to have the school as the argument. I meant to say, like, if we have enough for funding a new school, we couldn't just add a little extra just for this policy as well.
Well,
I'm not saying...
the school wasn't a want, though. I vehemently disagree with my colleague on the right. The school wasn't a want. The schools aren't just books. The schools are an atmosphere, and you can't teach kids effectively if you have water dripping from the ceiling, if you have bugs crawling through the windows, if you have drafts coming through. It's not a conducive place to learn. And that's what we want to do. We want to educate our kids. We want them to be better than what we were. And a book alone is just a small part.
Can you relate
Of
that
an
to trash,
education.
Bill? We're talking about trash, we're not talking about the school. Can you relate that to the trash?
Yes, he just did. He mentioned it. Now I'm picking up why that there's a big difference. And on Mr. McDonald's point, okay, that the school is much more than a book. And it wasn't a want. It was a need, a desperate need. You understand that because you've been in those schools.
Yeah.
If you were educated in those schools, you know how drafty they are. You know how inconducive they are to learning. So it wasn't just a whim and say, hey, we want to buy a new Cadillac. We needed a new school. The trash is something different. The trash is something we could control. It's something that, you believe it or not, we are the only, up until February 1st, the only community in Massachusetts that did not have a limit on the number of barrels you could put out. We were wide open, free range. So if you owned a business, and you saw your trash costs keep going up and escalating, there's no incentive. It's a great incentive for you to cancel your trash contract at your business and bring it home to Groveland, because we'll take it all. It had to end. It's just not sustainable. That's why we had to go to the two barrel limit, which I brought up 4 kids. I would never, other than a birthday for Christmas, a birthday party, never go over 2 barrels, ever. Now, I'll fill up 4 or 5 bins of recycle, but that's limitless. We can make money on that. But maybe twice a year I go over 2 barrels. So I couldn't understand why anyone couldn't do their part as well. It's a small sacrifice. We all have to make some sacrifices. To raise taxes, to your point, you'd be in here tomorrow. Why'd you raise my taxes? Decisions have to be made. Some of them are tougher than others. I guess that's why we get paid the big bucks, right? Because sometimes we got to make tough decisions that not everybody agrees upon. We get it, or at least I get it. I'm not going to make everybody happy all the time. It's not realistic. What we try to do is do the greatest good for the greatest number. That's all I can do. I know some people won't be happy with it. You're not, obviously. I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is.
Kathy, do you have anything for Chris?
No, I think that Chris obviously has questions that we can't answer in this shorter forum. If he wants to leave a copy of your letter, your written statement, I'd be glad to get you the information you're looking for. And whether you agree for it or not, at least you have the information, right? So I hear that you didn't hear things, you didn't realize things were changing, so I'd be glad to, if you want to leave a copy of that with our town administrator, I'd be glad to look it over and provide you with whatever data and tables we had accessible to it and the contract cost, and also you can understand it better. And maybe someday you'll jump on a board for us.
Mr. Chair?
You'd have to.
Well, he just, I think we have to move on. I think he wrote a great paper, but I think this is not the forum to address all those points.
Let me go first. Thanks for coming in, you did a nice job.
Thank you.
I know that I can't explain it to people. We went from 4 barrels to 2 barrels, but yet it cost us more. It doesn't make any sense to me that there should have been some kind of a reduction when we went from 4 to 2. And, but looking at some of our neighboring communities, a community of Boxford, which is the first community that I found that they limit people on their recycling. And they have a system, they have to pay to throw, they call it. They have to buy the little stickers for the bags. And so they can put out whatever they want, as long as you buy the bags. But have you seen any of those purple bags around town? Because I'm around town a lot, and I haven't seen any yet. Anybody seen any?
Yeah, I have some.
Have you?
Yep. They're at Obashan.
And there again,
Why don't you tell them where they are?
I would have chose a different color, but.
Okay.
But anyway, I agree with a lot of what you got to say, and I just can't explain to people how we went from 4 barrels to 2, and it cost us more. Dan, you had something follow up?
Yeah, just, I'm listening to what you say, and if there are others that feel your sentiment, this board voted to reduce from 4 to 2. I was opposed to that. I thought a middle ground would have been 3, see how it goes. But we pay for the tonnage. I think that was the reason the board's concerned about it, is within the contract is, they can pick up 4. But if the tonnage, doubles, then we're going to get a bill for double. So I think, I don't speak for everyone here, but I think that's their concern, is that if it's unlimited or if it's 4, then it's going to break the budget. But if people out there want 3 or 4 and they're willing to pay for it, then speak up and send some feedback to the representatives here. And maybe we could tweak it next year, because we have some discretion on whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, don't we?
Mr. Chairman,
No?
I need to make a
Yes.
statement. Chris, I urge you to leave that letter and allow me to give you the correct information. There are not that many landfills left in the state. There's 2. Okay? Incineration is not the best way to get rid of trash. Every other city and town has a limit on barrels for a reason. It's cost effective, and we need to reduce waste. There's a lot of information on it. I would love to have someone your age get involved in some of this stuff and help out, but it's not a matter of us just coming in and flipping a quarter and saying, 2 barrels. There was a lot of research that went into it. Not all members of this board participated in the research. I have a lot of information. I'd really love to see your paper, and I'd love to address your concerns so that you understand at least where the information came from, rather than giving you a bunch of flip answers about what I agree or don't agree with. I think you took a lot of time to do this, and I'd be glad to answer it.
Dan, you weren't finished, or were you?
Feedback comes from the ground up. If people are unhappy, voice your opinion. I appreciate you coming down here. That's what democracy is all about. If you're unhappy, speak up. If you don't speak up, we don't hear you.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming in. And if you could leave that, hopefully you can get some answers. Next, Pentucket Senior Celebration lawn signs. Denise was on the, did you have, Denise, can you hear us?
Oh, we're looking over here.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. How is everybody tonight?
Good.
So I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with downtown Georgetown has done in the past is have those senior pictures on lawn signs, and they sort of put them around the whole square there for everybody to see. And we were hoping that we might be able to do that this year for our Pentucket seniors. I have reached out to you folks this evening, the town of West Newbury, and also Merrimack, to see if there are some places for us to go ahead and do that. What we're looking for Groveland is to put them along Elm Park, hoping that we can get your blessing to do that. Looking to do the month of May through June 3rd. June 4th is actual graduation day, so we would, myself and the committee for Pentucket Senior Celebration would come down, and we would take care of putting them up, we would take care of taking them down, and we just want to sort of boost morale for, not only the town, but the kids, and just sort of come together as a community.
Thank you. This is a request for signs representing our seniors on
Correct.
Perry Park from May 4th to June 3rd.
No, Elm
Not
Park.
Perry Park,
Not
Elm
Perry.
Park.
Not,
Elm Park.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elm Park.
Yes.
Elm Park, yep.
Anybody got any questions for Denise?
No.
None?
Make a motion if you'd like.
How about a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve that the Pentucket Senior Celebration may place the signs down on the Elm Park from May 4th till June 3rd.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, I've got a question. May to June, really grows fast, May to June.
Yep.
All those signs around, I'm just wondering how they're gonna have a tough time mowing the lawn.
Sure, I can reach out to Groveland Landscaping, I believe, does that stretch
think it's the
for
highway
you
department.
folks. I can certainly reach out to Mark McCabe and work something out with him where I could go pluck him up, for an hour until he gets his mowing done.
Yeah, so they don't get run over and the grass doesn't overgrow the sign so you can't see them.
Correct, you got it, Bill.
Right, that's my only thought.
Okay, anybody else? Well, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, everybody. Have a great evening.
You too.
Update from the Board of Health on the Bagnell School Summer Program. And we have the Board of Health nurse. Is that what you're here for? No.
Well, I was here to answer any questions you might have. I believe it's a letter to the Selectmen in response to your request for a recommendation from us.
Yes.
So I'm in attendance if you have any questions on it, it's simply for your edification.
Okay. We received a letter from the Board of Health in response to a couple meetings ago, we had the head of the Bagnell Summer Program looking for some recommendations on some,
Vaccine mandate.
excuse me?
It was the vaccine mandate.
Yes, it was. And so the Board of Health has weighed in on it. Dan, you want to read that?
This letter?
Yeah.
Sure.
You got the same one? Is it? No, that's not it.
Read whatever you want if I have it.
I move we
Okay.
suspend reading of the letter and just go with a synopsis of what it says.
Yeah,
Dated February 24th?
that's it, yep,
I can blast through it. Want me to blast through it?
yeah. Just paraphrase it.
Yeah, please.
From the Board of Health dated February 24th, 2022, Groveland Summer 2022 Recreation Program. On February 16th, 2022, the Board of Health met and discussed the matter you referred to us for guidance and direction going forward. Careful review and research of currently available information on this subject was undertaken. Information was reviewed from CDC, DPH, DESE, and ACA, American Camp Association, local, state, and nationwide practice recommendations. Locally, no COVID-19 mandatory vaccination is required for schools or camps. Elsewhere, there were some school districts that did mandate vaccination for ages 12 and up for attendance. However, the majority are nowhere close to such a requirement. The American Academy of Pediatrics supports vaccination of eligible children, but it remains the responsibility of the parents to safeguard the child's health, acknowledging that the current vaccine does not prevent COVID-19, but attenuates illness and therefore decreases hospitalization and critical illness and death. The state of Massachusetts encourages vaccination, and we support that position fully as best practice. But we concluded that we cannot support mandated vaccine administration in the setting of all currently available information. Undoubtedly, some children, maybe most, will be vaccinated, and it could be noted on an admission packet. Those children not vaccinated might be required to wear a mask indoors or for close activities. Utilize current mitigation strategies with proper focus on distancing and sanitation. Any child who is ill should be advised to stay home or be isolated until a parent can take them home. This recreation program has a very positive and popular history in Groveland, and we know the children and parents need this now more than ever. We believe with a few changes, such as masks for unvaccinated children, the program can look forward to another successful year. We will continue to follow data and metrics and practices in the Board of Health and advise you of any substantive position or policy recommendations as they occur. This third year of COVID-19 has been hard for all of us, but things are looking up at the moment. However, things can be very fluid as well. And that was, the Board of Health is available to assist with any questions, concerns you may have going into this year's summer recreation program. And that's
Thank you.
very, very truly yours, Board of Health. Appreciate that.
That sums it up pretty good.
Yes.
Did you have anything further to add? Why
just
why don't you step up so we can all hear you?
Sorry.
Thank you. And just introduce yourself. I think everybody knows you anyway.
Hi, I'm Anita Wright. I reside at 21 Ashcroft Terrace in Groveland. I'm presently the public health nurse for the town of Groveland. We did have this meeting. That is our recommendation. I further had some conversation with an interested party today. I just haven't caught up with the schools yet. I understand the schools have suspended the masks in schools as of today as well.
It's voluntary.
Voluntary.
It's voluntary. So some are wearing them and some aren't. I think when we wrote this, we suggested, just as an offering of an alternative, that maybe unvaccinated children, however many there are, could maybe be asked to wear masks if they were inside doing close work. But I'm thinking it's only February, and we're talking June. And with the advisories coming out almost every 2 weeks, it's very possible there'll be no mask wearing at the rate we're going by June anyway. So I think it is fluid. But in terms of the issue of vaccine mandate, that's where we stand. But we aren't mandating that the children who aren't vaccinated have to wear masks. We're just offered that as a possible alternative, if that would make things a little bit easier in the world of camp, which is not something I know very much about personally. But I think we have to remember that this is February, and the numbers have gone down tremendously since January. And we're looking at different metrics. We're looking at hospitalization, we're looking at intensive care stays, and we're looking at ventilation and community-wide. The hospitalizations have reduced from almost 3,000 in January 20th in the state of Massachusetts down to 485 as of today. So we're talking maybe 39 days total with a massive reduction in inpatient hospitalizations of COVID patients. So the whole issue of Omicron and illness in general is starting to really make that turn downward. And it could be very, very much lower by the time the summer arises. We may not have an issue at all to deal with in terms of worrying about lots of children getting sick at camp. So we are watching it. We will stay on top of this and make any recommendations that we think for the future to you. But you know, most of the kids aren't going to be wearing masks. Some kids will be wearing masks. Whatever their parents wish is pretty much fine. We have probably a vaccination rate in the age group of 12 and up of near 65 to 70%, which is pretty high. But in the lower age group, in the 5 to 11, it's kind of stuck around 55%. So that may change as well as time passes on. So that many of the children, I don't know what the attendance is at these camps, but it's conceivable that the majority of the children will be vaccinated, and there'll only be a few kids or you know, a couple of age groups that might have a few stragglers that prefer not to be that. And if their parents are okay with them wearing a mask, that's fine. But I don't think they should be denied the opportunity to be at camp, and they should be able to participate with their cohort groups in most of the activities that would be available to them. So it's very fluid, and again, I didn't even get a chance to talk to Dr. Bartholomew today about what they actually ended up with. I know they have to wear the masks on the buses.
No, they don't
No,
anymore.
that was
Well,
lifted.
that was a federal mandate.
That was lifted by the CDC.
It was dropped.
It was lifted
Okay, well, do you know when?
by the CDC.
Oh, today? Okay, I haven't gotten,
Today they didn't
I didn't get my data today, so that was the only thing that was kind of confusing. We're lifting the masks in the school, and then they had to wear them on the buses. I was like, I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. So I was gonna get to Dr. Bartholomew tomorrow and see if I could sort that out. So there are a lot of confusion issues around masking, but the bottom line is if you're vaccinated, have fun, and if you're not vaccinated, be careful. If you have any risks, wear a mask. It just we know the mask works. If you don't want to get it and you don't want to be sick, or you do have a comorbidity, wearing the mask is really the best move you can make. But we're just hoping for a good summer and have the kids have a lot of fun, and the parents get a break.
Thank you, Anita. Do you have any questions for Anita?
Are we allowed to speak out here or no?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I've never been to a meeting, but
If you'd like to weigh in on it, go to the,
Yeah, I just,
no, why don't you go up to the table and introduce yourself, and then,
Well, because the camera, you
I
have to
already go to
speak.
enough meetings, all right? I'm on the school committee.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just teasing
So
you.
you know the mic goes to the camera that's on TV.
Um,
that's all.
No, my name is Ashley McLaughlin. I'm at 104 School Street. I just had a question based on, so I know you're saying like everything is changing right now, but we like, you know, I know we have to plan ahead, but so with like scheduling the camp, are you going to be the one ultimately, or like the board that will make the final decision about if unvaccinated kids have to wear masks, or how will we, because I know that's going to be a big factor for a lot of people signing up for camp, that they're not going to want it. So I'm just wondering, like, I know the sign-ups are out now, so when will, you know, that kind of be finalized?
That, as far as we're concerned from the Board of Health, that was just offered as an alternative. It wasn't a recommendation.
Okay.
It's not a suggestion. It's not anything that we particularly subscribe to, because the masking is quite fluid now. So that's why I offered that, what I just said, that there may be any no masking by the time June comes around, depending on how the rates have gone down. So we don't determine any of the decisions about what the camp director
Oh, so they
does.
make the
He
ultimate
makes that
decision?
But on this decision, he had to seek the.
Oh,
the
asking you guys, so you're
and they
giving your
deferred
piece,
to
so
us, yes.
he's the one that
So we
makes.
read in from that.
Okay.
Because it's a municipal type program, so they reports to the Board of Selectmen. Through that question at the Board of Selectmen, it got sent back to the Board of Health.
So we should reach out to him and say
Anita.
when
I
you're
think
gonna-
so.
Anita, could you grab the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, it doesn't go to the TV.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why.
Where do I pick up? So Mr. Castigay has to weigh in, I think, on this ultimately. We simply responded to the Board of Selectmen's question to us, what is our position on mandatory vaccination? So masking really didn't even come up in terms of that question, or in his, I believe in his procedure that he had submitted. I didn't see any particular issue on that. We just, as we were talking about it and saying, well, maybe this would be helpful, well, so we just added that in our letter, but it's not certainly anything that we would be recommending or, putting forth on his behalf. We just threw it out to be amenable. So he has to pretty much, I don't know if he's going to decide or not, but I don't have any contact with this man at all. I'm simply saying that what we had, the question before us was, does the Board of Health support mandatory vaccination for the camp program? And we do not. So that's pretty much that. And then we just offered that as an alternative if that became an issue in terms of safety for the children, or parents were concerned about it, or I didn't, at the time we were talking about this, the school wasn't even dealing with, they were dealing with stopping contact tracing, but not lifting masks. So even from the time we intercepted this question, that the issue of dropping masks in schools wasn't even on the table. So that's how fast the information is changing. So I'd have to go back to the board with that question as a mandate from us. But that isn't something that we really wanted to do.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess,
So we'll just reach out
Matt has to participate in any feedback to you.
Can you get a copy of that out to Matt?
Yeah.
Did.
You did? Did he
I sent him that,
respond?
and I sent him the agenda as well.
Excuse me?
I sent him the letter and the agenda.
In the agenda, okay. He didn't respond?
He did not.
No, okay.
And
Thank you.
I haven't gotten any emails or anything. So.
Thank you, Anita.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, you had a question for Anita?
Well, yeah, I mean, if the governor recommended eliminating the mask mandate for students in all public schools, why would anyone here in town or on this board have the authority to mandate that? And I don't want to leave that up to Matt.
We don't.
I'm against it. I listened to the last school committee meeting, and there were several parents that were upset that their young children hadn't seen, other students smile or laugh or have any facial expressions in the last couple of years, which I believe is extremely unhealthy for young children. Older people can deal with problems typically and understand. I don't know because you weren't asked that question, I don't know if you can give us your opinion on that should be just voluntary and what the parents want.
Right.
That's my position. Leave it up to the parents. I mean, I'm not.
Whatever they did last year, what we call non-pharmaceutical interventions, they were wearing masks last year. They were doing sanitation. They were doing all of the, non-vaccine related mitigation strategies, and that was very successful. And there was a mother here, I think, in January when the question first came up, saying, "Why can't you just do what you did last year?" kind of thing. And so, all we were saying, because that's what they did. The kids wore masks and they had a good year. There was no outbreaks. There was nothing. So we were just saying that to be positive and to be trying to be helpful, if there was that big an issue in reduction in vaccination and concerns for spread in the camp setting, that maybe that might be a solution or something you could look at. But it's not anything that we would recommend or feel strongly about, especially in the setting of the state lifting masks, both in public buildings and in schools.
I just think that if you require the unvaccinated children to be masked, I mean, that certainly sends a message to not only those particular children forced to do so, but it
might.
Yeah, it's like,
But it's a choice now.
It's
Masks
like
are a
that
choice, so
person's
some kids are gonna wear
unvaccinated.
masks,
I mean,
and some kids aren't.
Isn't that potentially a way to stigmatize children that
could be, sure.
you're not vaccinated?
Sure, it could be.
So it shouldn't happen.
I agree.
It should not happen. I mean, that's not fair to those children, you know?
They'll be
Yeah.
called names.
The other thing is, you know, and Matt was here, he's not here to defend himself, so I don't want to go too off on a limb here, but it seemed like he, you know, I questioned, well, if you're not vaccinated, then what, you can't participate? So what does that do for working mothers and fathers that need their kid to go to a summer program? I mean, they can't, you know, they got to find another spot. I mean, that's not good public service. So I don't want to exclude anyone.
No, I understand what you're saying, and as I said, the real essence of what we were undertaking was the answer to the question,
Yeah.
do we recommend or support mandatory vaccination, and we do not.
Okay.
And in an attempt to be helpful, we just put that in our correspondence to you, not to him directly.
But that was prior to the governor's recommendation
And
and the
before
school
the
committees
school-
and everyone else, so that was, is it now moot?
Right. It is.
It's moot.
That's what I mean by fluid.
Okay.
But because it's a situation now where you can wear the mask if you want, or you don't have to, kind of thing. The same thing is going to happen at camps. Some kids are going to still wear masks if their parents ask them to. It shouldn't
Absolutely.
be directed. It would be something that, for the same reason they would continue to wear them at school, I would imagine. Either they have a risk factor that they're required to wear them, or their parents want them to. So it's not coming from us. It's possible that children will be wearing masks. It'll be coming from somewhere else besides, I think, the camp or certainly the Board of Health.
But I think, I forget your name, I'm sorry.
Ashley.
You want some sort of predictability because you have to plan, you know,
Well, yeah.
your life, you know, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you don't want to sign up if they're going to change their mind later and it's too fluid. So I think we need to say that it's going to be optional unless the governor and the CDC, unless things change and we have a spike in.
At the very last paragraph, that's sort of what we said, that we will stay in touch, we will look at the metrics. Right now, it looks like everything is moving in the right direction, and it's unlikely that that's going to have to happen. But there is another variant of interest already out there. And we, not to excite anybody, but we're watching it. And while Omicron leaves, there could be something else coming in. And things can change that quickly. But it would be predicated on that and not on just mandatory this and mandatory that. It would have to be a response to, an appropriate response to a new problem.
A change,
or
a change in the pandemic
a surge
itself.
in the metrics. That's the only thing I can see that would alter that.
The biggest problem with all of this too is that it's like all these hospitalizations, and I work in healthcare as my full-time job. All these hospitalizations, that's for the high-risk community, that's for the older people. But all those numbers are always thrown in when it's the school, the mass, the buses, the camps. Like, these poor kids, like, there's no kids in the hut. There's some, minimal. But it's just like, it's ridiculous that all these numbers, well, the hospitalization's this week, so school has to be like this. Like, it's just, and I know it's not, I'm not blaming you, I'm just expressing my frustration. That's why I'm at this meeting. That's why I joined the school, ran for school committee, to be a voice for our kids, because enough is enough. Let them go to camp. If you want to put your kid in a mask, fine. If you want to give them a vaccine, fine. But, you know, let people just do what they want to do.
That's pretty much how it's going to boil down.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
here. We all set? Do we need to take a vote on this? I don't think we do. We asked the Board of Health to weigh in on it. They have, and we'll hear what the response is from
Okay.
the director of the program. Unless somebody
No.
no, I think we're all set with that. Thank you, Anita, for coming
you.
in. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your questions.
Discuss and approve remote work policy. Rebecca, you had some comments on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had asked for both this item and the comp time policy that's listed right below it to be brought before the Board of Selectmen
Ashley? I'm sorry. I didn't catch your first name.
in efforts to get something on the books for the town. We have changed kind of the way that we've worked with COVID and the way that it's impacted our working habits. And unfortunately, as we'll discuss later, with budgetary constraints, it's hard to reward our employees for all the extra work that they do allowing some of the employees who are able to work remotely is something that we'd like to put into practice. And the policy before you takes a look at how we can do that thoughtfully and making sure that we can give our employees a little bit more flexibility in order to do so. And the same with the comp time. The comp time specifically, nighttime meetings, a lot of our staff have nighttime meetings for boards, committees, or commissions that they tend to. We cannot pay them overtime. So having a comp time policy on the books allows us to allow them to maybe come in an hour later the next day, or to take that time and not necessarily abuse that time, not that they would, but accrue it over a certain amount of time and take a vacation week, if you will. So it just regulates that use of time and puts a policy in place that will help guide our employees and offer them another incentive to their advantage.
Did everybody read that over? Do they have any questions for Rebecca on the policy? Or if you didn't read it over, you want to table it till the next meeting to read it over and come up with some questions? Any comments? Dan?
Have you spoken with the people affected by that?
Affected by the policy?
Yeah, the employees.
Well, currently we don't have a remote policy, and we currently don't have a comp time policy. So if anything, they benefit from having an actual policy in place.
Before we vote on it, I think we should, see if there's feedback, or is that what people want? I mean, what does it cost us? Is it going to cost us more or the same, or it's just kind of a...
I don't believe it has any monetary
Jason,
strings
could you close
attached.
that back door, please?
I can certainly bring it before. I shared it with one of the employees who has a lot of night meetings, taking into consideration how that would work with the comp time and not taking too much time so that there was coverage in the office, because technically we were really limited in terms of our staff, so we only have one person in the office. If they start taking too much comp time, then there's no coverage in the office. So I did run it by her, but I have not shared it with the majority of the building, which I can do if you'd like me to.
So it would be optional with the employee, so if they don't want to, then they don't. So
It's only-
even if we adopted the policy as you recommend, right, then it's kind of no skin off your nose, so to speak. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it.
Yep, exactly.
It wouldn't be mandated or imposed on anyone.
No mandate. It's just an option and an incentive for those employees who have different schedules.
So it's flexible.
Yes, for flexibility.
Okay.
Bill, you have any comments?
Yes, so saying a person could accrue as many as 40 hours?
I'm sorry?
How many hours can a person accrue through this plan?
So it was for the comp, it was up to, they had to use the time within 60 days of the actual accrual. And it depends on whether or not they're exempt or non-exempt, and the hours would be accrued at 1.5 for the non-exempt and an hourly basis for the exempt.
Over 40 hours a week,
Over 40
or 8 hours a day.
Yeah, yes. So in addition to your normal scheduled work hours, you can't come
For the
into work-
exempt?
Yeah, well, you can't come into work a half hour early and be like, oh, I came in a half hour early, I'm gonna leave a half hour early. That's not comp time.
And the non-exempt?
So the non-exempt was the same, only it was calculated at 1.5.
Okay, wait a minute. Exempt, you're exempt from overtime. Non-exempt, you must be paid for overtime. So a non-exempt employee works 45 hours. We pay them 40 hours straight time, 5 hours at time and a half, and then we're going to accrue another 5 hours at time and a half?
Well, we're not gonna pay them overtime, they can elect to get comp time, and it has to be approved. So instead of paying overtime, you could elect for comp time instead.
Can you do that per federal law? Not pay someone time and a half over 40?
With an agreement in place. I can run it by town council if you'd prefer.
I just don't want this coming back and I've seen these suits where people don't pay overtime, they don't pay proper salaries, and then they come back and they're awarded several hundreds of thousands of dollars in back pay, penalties, fines, and everything.
So the example that I've been given is that if you don't have a policy in place, that's exactly what can happen, because you don't have something that's saying to you that and you are not allowed to work over 40 hours. You may not work overtime. You may not be granted overtime. Any work you work overtime is not going to be paid unless you have an agreement in place stating that you can utilize that comp time. So if you didn't have a policy in place, somebody could say that I worked all these late night meetings, and they try and cash out on those late night meetings and the hours that they work, saying it's overtime, without having had something in place. So, but I can definitely get a legal opinion as to whether or not you can enter into an agreement of that nature. I modeled it after other communities, so I know it's within reason, but I can get a specific opinion for sure.
And I would think we want to remove any hourly person from this, because we're going to pay them time and a half. If they're here all night, they're getting paid for it. Whether they're getting paid straight time or time and a half, they're getting compensated one way or another for it. It's the exempt folks that really get stuck, because they're on a salary. They get X whether they work 40 hours or 400 hours. That's where it'd be nice. And not many people get comp time anymore. They're just expected to work it. But
The other issue is that we're strapped for our budgets. So we have individuals who are told that they can only work a certain amount of hours. And anytime that they feel as though there's work that needs to be done and they want to do that work, they're penalized because they can't work the additional hours. Some of them do it just because they want to get the work done. So there's no incentive for them to do their jobs. And we don't have any monies to add additional hours to their positions. So it was just a process of trying to identify a way to reward our employees for doing the work, and it does fluctuate in our line of work. Some seasons are busy, some seasons are not, and so it just gave another option for those individuals who are busy in a certain time to be able to fulfill their duties and meet those demands and not overly strain the budget, while also being cognizant of their actual work efforts and their time. But I can certainly, again, get a legal opinion from town council. But I think that the only reason I bring it up is because it's not just the exempt, it's the hourly employees, the non-exempt employees too, especially in a small town with very limited staff.
And they're being told at 40 hours they have to stop.
They're being told they cannot, we don't have money in the budget. They've tried to work over, and then if they do work over, then we won't be able to pay them.
Okay,
They'll run out their line item, which we cannot legally do. We cannot have them run out their salary line item before the end of the year because they're working too much time. So essentially, you're going to furlough them for the rest of the year because you cannot pay them.
Right, okay. So now I need to jump ahead of that cart. What caused did we lose people that caused the increase in workload that's causing these people to have to, that their current workload is greater than the hours given?
I don't think you lost people, but I think there's a larger demand on individuals in their positions to do multiple things.
Then the workload increased.
In some cases, I would say that's true.
So maybe that we need to understand where and what and why the workload increased in some cases.
I can definitely get all that information for you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, so I can wrap my head around what's going on and the need for the, where's that demand coming from?
Okay.
And how do we compensate for that extra demand?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Kathy, do you have a question or comment from?
Are we voting on these today, or what?
It doesn't sound like we're going to be ready to.
Well, I'd vote approval contingent on the town council saying okay, rather than bringing them back and forth.
Jason, did you?
Yeah, when I saw these and I read them over, I was actually really shocked because this is something that I would typically get from my human resource manager when I was in the retail world. And I think a lot of the overages in the comp time comes because of the inconsistency with tax collection and things, and the ups and downs, and the busy times and the slow times. Busy times, somebody might work more than the 8 hours in a day and need to get the job done, and then can take that comp time when things settle down. So I think that they're really well-written. Collectively, I think they're phenomenal pieces of work, and I would definitely vote to approve them, pending the town council's confirmation that we could do the comp time for our hourly employees versus paying them their time and a half. So that was, yeah, I think they're phenomenal. The only thing that I would caution is a lot of individual policies that tend to get lost. It'd be nice to have them adapted into a regular policy and procedure manual for their employees.
A good idea. Dan, did you have a comment, question?
Well, I share Bill's concern. You know, it's an area of the law. If you make a mistake, it's, you know, it's too bad. It's trouble damages, attorney fees and costs. So and usually you don't find out about it until it's down the road. So absolutely, I need a legal opinion from town council. And typically, I mean, I'm not necessarily against it for hourly employees, but typically it's for salaried persons that it's been used. Why would somebody not want, you know, 1.5 times their hour and take an hour comp time? You know, seems like you'd be losing half an hour. But if you have no other choice because of the budget restrictions and limitations, then you either you push your chair in at 8 hours and walk out the door and the job doesn't get done. So I don't know that we want to encourage that, right? So I'd be for it with town council's approval.
Okay, what's your wish? You
Yeah.
want to bring it back, table it, bring it back to the next meeting and get the okay
make a
from
motion.
Kathy, could you wait till I'm finished, please?
Yeah.
Could you, do you want to have the town council weigh in on it before we vote on it? What's your wish?
I think so.
I'd like to make a motion on the remote work policy. It's on the agenda before that.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the remote work policy.
I'll second that.
The motion to approve the remote work policy, and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? No further discussion. All in favor of approval of the remote work policy?
Aye.
Unanimous approval. Sounds like we want to,
I'd like to make a motion for the consideration of the board, just because I feel that we have a pretty heavy agenda tonight, and I don't think next meeting is going to be any easier. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the compensatory time policy contingent on approval by town council.
I'll second that.
there's a motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Motion to table?
Motion to table.
Motion to table. Is there a second on the motion to table?
I'll second.
Motion to table and a second. All in favor of tabling? 3 in favor, opposed? 2 opposed. We'll table it, bring it back to the next meeting. If you can get the approval of town council.
Will do.
Thank you. Next, interim report, study committee, Joe Demore, you supplied us with the paperwork.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
make a motion to table. I would like to get us to the Pentucket school budget tonight, so that we might have another letter to the school committee before they vote the budget. I think it's critical.
Okay, you want to table that?
I'll second that.
Motion to table the government study, the motion and a second. All in favor of tabling that?
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion carries. Kathy, do you want to bring up item L, the Pentucket school budget, before we go to the?
I'm going to make a motion that unless there's something urgent on the American ARPA Monday, I think we're still waiting for the money, could that be tabled with
That can be
permission?
tabled.
I'd like to make a motion to table the item J.
Second.
Motion to table American Rescue Plan Act funding project review and a second. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Unanimous. Brings us down to the FY 2023 town budget. And we were supplied some paperwork on that. Rebecca, you want to make a quick comment on that?
Okay, are we gonna start with the budget, or are we gonna go to the Pentucket first?
No, we're going to do the town budget, then we'll go to
Okay.
the Pentucket budget.
So I supplied for you a breakdown of our revenue description for the last 5 fiscal years, as well as our estimated budget revenue for the FY '23 budget cycle. I've also provided you with the FY '23 budget request with prior year comparisons, starting with 2018. That listed item is, those are the requested amounts. Those are not the final amounts. This is still being reviewed with the finance board, but based upon some of the movement that has occurred with the school committee in their budget, there's been some concerns, obviously, and talks of override. So I wanted to put these figures before you to see exactly what type of situation that we're currently in with our department requests as they stand now.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Bill?
So right now, we're $847,417 underwater.
That is correct.
That's more than a little hole in the dike.
Question on that. If we have a large increase on the Pentucket budget, if with a scenario, if that goes to an override, if they can't sharpen their pencils any more than what they got, and that goes to an override, and the override fails in 2 of the towns, does that have to be made up out of the town side of the budget?
So if the override fails in 2 communities, then the Pentucket School District will need to reevaluate their budget. If
So-
it only fails in 1 community but passes in the other 2, or the 2 of them agree, then it will need to come back to whatever community that did not pass that override, and they will need to adjust their budget.
Okay, so it would, if it failed to the override in 2 communities, just so that everybody's clear, if it fails in 2 communities, it goes back to Pentucket. It doesn't, the increase doesn't come out of the budget unless it's approved in 2 and fails in 1.
Yes.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Bill, you had a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's also my understanding that if the school committee rejects the budget, and it's also voted down, that it would go on a month-to-month basis?
1/12.
1/12.
If they don't pass it, so that would be like if you reach June 30th and we have not reached an approved school budget, they go to 1/12 of the prior year's budget until we resolve the issue.
Okay, that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up for me.
Oh,
And
you already
hopefully
knew
everybody
it?
else.
Oh,
Huh?
I thought you didn't know it. You did know it.
I wasn't as clear as you are.
Okay.
So I would strongly recommend that the school committee reject the budget. They're having a meeting tomorrow night, right?
That's correct, and Selectwoman Castellanos can speak more to a recent meeting that we had with the school superintendent and the business manager and a few others concerning their plans moving forward, and a potential presentation to the school committee tomorrow with some other scenarios other than the one that they presented originally, which resulted in a 9% increase to the town of Groveland.
And the only other comment, I know you know me. I'm an Excel guy. You can send me this in Excel, right?
Yes.
Ah, you're the best.
Kathy, go ahead.
So, I believe, does everybody have a hard copy, Rebecca, of the budget and revenue sheet of the school?
Send it to them right now.
Right, and then the digital version, do you have your digital version, Bill? It's not gonna be an Excel sheet, it's gonna be,
Yeah, it's a PDF.
right. So if you go all the way to the bottom of it, all the way to the end, and you'll see a title, by function area description, that kind of tells you where the increases are in the proposed budget that would increase our assessment by 9%. That's the summary. Administration, 19, to almost 20% increase. Classroom instruction, 7% increase.
That wasn't in the packet Rebecca sent us, right?
Yeah, I don't,
I don't have.
No, I just gave it to her today, right?
Yeah, I'll
Oh, so
print
they
it.
don't have it?
Oh, okay.
Okay, I just got this from their website. I was trying to get a digital version, and they kept shooting me back to their website.
A PDF, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a PDF.
I know.
So one of the things like that I went is you're able to, if you can get it on a thing, you can scroll and you'll see that the amount of money in the top of their revenue, they have their E&D going in as revenue,
Yeah.
and then they're putting double the amount into stabilization. So if you that's why digitally this is easier to look at, because you can look for where it pops, where you see a 95% line increase. And we haven't had time to go through this and ask them why you're doing that,
Because
while you're
they-
upping our assessment.
They just dropped it on our lap 2 weeks ago,
Right, right. And
which is,
it's-
I don't know if that was a
it's
part of the
taken
plan
me-
to
yeah.
present it so late that it gave us very little time to react,
Correct.
or that they were just got behind.
Ed, you have the copy of it, don't you, or is that the town budget?
This
No.
is the town budget.
Okay. This one is, I wish, I was trying to find a way to get it into a digital, and I couldn't, they wouldn't give it to me. But when you do get it, you can look down quickly and you'll see the large increases in administration. That's where the majority of the cost is, not direct pupil teachers' services. And would it be nice to have all that? Sure. In a perfect world where you had unlimited funds, go ahead, for the benefit of the kids. But in this situation, we're talking about not just an override this year, but next year and the year after. And the question is, do I know whether the taxpayers of Groveland are going to support all these overrides? No, I don't know.
I got a pretty good idea.
So how can we go to our town departments and tell them whether or not we can vote their budgets? I feel that this is just a real high-risk situation here. And it's very unfair to be given to us so late that we didn't have time to ask for this in the format, you know what I'm saying, in a format so that we could really,
Rip it apart.
well, really get our questions answered. It's just, I have not had enough time with this and been able to get access to it. And I just, that was one of my complaints years ago on the finance board, is that we wanted the school budget provided to us in a digital format that we can compare 1 year apples to apples. And also, when they say that Groveland's share goes up 6%, that's with the reduced debt exclusion in it. Back out the debt exclusion, and the finance board is correct. 9% increase, $900,000 plus. If you look at our revenue side, we come out with about $575,000 additional revenue. And normally, we give about 65% to the school, and then we try and be fair with the rest of it. We're not even able to do that.
I know they're approaching 70 cents on the dollar.
I also looked into the ESSER funds, and we have not gotten anything from the school on the spending of ESSER funds. They received $872,000 in the year that they were going to give some of those to us. The following year, they got $1.9 million in ESSER funds, ESSER 3. We don't know how those were spent. On one of the slides, it was shown that they're supporting some of the coaches with that, coaches in education, and then those will come into the budget. But shouldn't we get to know where that money went to? We've been on TV telling everybody where our ARPA money is going. Everybody knows where every dollar in Groveland goes. I mean, we fight over trash barrels. That's how tight the money is in Groveland. You know, we're having a war over trash barrels. And these are big pieces of money moving in a budget. And you just don't see it unless you have time to look at it. You just don't see it.
Because the details take time to ferret out.
When you see it, you'll be able to find it fast enough. You can just slide through and look for the percent increases that pop.
Takes a lot longer if you don't get the information. And this
It does.
information should be handed out to everybody.
Well, it was in a packet, and then what happened, what we found out as we looked through it, is that the cover sheet, revenues and budget, doesn't match the packet. And I was like, why? Oh, because we are changing things still. Yeah. Okay. This detail, this budget detail, I believe from the website, matches up to the highest possible budget they want. That's what that's going to line up to. And I know that Merrimack expressed grave concerns that if for any reason they were the town that did not vote the override, and we did, and West Newbury has the funds, because they just do.
Because they're in the top 50 highest property tax bills in Massachusetts.
Okay. But they feel they would have to close their library and their senior center and perhaps cut positions in addition.
You're left in
And
the same position.
it's just
And that's just this year.
correct,
Next year, it'd be more cuts, or another override.
correct.
And
I
then
mean,
the following year after that.
I'll say this about Pentucket versus other schools. We may not be spending as much per student, but I would much rather have my student attending Pentucket than some of the other comparable schools they showed that are spending more. We outperform them on our tests, and I think we have a better school system to be in.
Well, it reaches a point where the taxpayers can't afford it. And right now, this is hurting some of our senior citizens. And I think word got out, they know about it. And
Okay.
they're having a hard time making ends meet right now, based upon the jump last year in the new school. And now they're coming in and they're looking for a bunch more. The taxes are gonna go up even higher, and these people are worried. They don't know what they can do. Some of them on a fixed income, and the school has gotta realize that it gotta stop. Well, they're meeting tomorrow night, and to approve this, is what I understand.
Yes, they said they're going to look at this, and the school committee has asked for 2 other scenarios to compare to. And my concern is that the complexity of this budget makes it very difficult for most people to look through it in one meeting and decide whether or not they can reduce beyond this. I mean, it's taken me a while to figure out where the increases were and to look them up and find them. So I'm hopeful that they're going to look at the 3% increase, because we have a chance of being able to handle that. Is that correct? That's one we think we could handle. Once it gets above that, we're in difficulty. And let me just see if I can find that line for the, I just happened to find that stabilization line when I was summing through it, and it just said, what is this big increase? So I don't know if the school committee members will find those lines and will know that they're in there. It would take a commitment to coming up with a budget that provides a good quality of education but is affordable within the district. That would have to be the mindset of the school committee member who is able to find that line, find those lines and reduce it. Say, you know what, we're not going to put that double the amount in stabilization this year. We're not going to do that. And what is the ESSER 3 money being used for? You know, it's just, again, the most telling page, if you want to just flip to something quick, is page 45 at the end. Just look at that and look at the percentage increases. And note the small increases are in the lines that actually do serve the students.
Are you going to the school committee meeting tomorrow night by any chance?
I can.
I don't know that we'd be allowed to speak. It's not a public hearing.
It,
They gave
I'm
us.
not sure about that either. I don't know if it would do any good.
I think if anything, we can issue another letter that tells them where we'd like to see the increase. I mean, it's worth a shot. Ask them to look at some of the lines, like the stabilization,
Well,
some of the
time
lines
to-
that are not direct services to students.
Jason, you had something? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question about the chapter 70. It looks like in FY '21 versus FY '22, there's about an $810,000 increase in the chapter 70
Yep.
versus the $57,000 that there is this year.
Yes, because the first numbers are out, so they're not anticipating as much of an increase.
That's a huge drop-off in the chapter 70 funds versus what they had.
What are you comparing to again on chapter 7?
FY '21 versus FY '22.
That's projected. So that's not the FY '22 actual yet. And FY '23 is projected as well.
Yes.
So.
They projected $811,000 increase from
Well,
over.
but I mean, if you look at the FY '20 actual and the FY '21 actual, those are actuals. But also, our student population has gone down. Our
Yeah, no,
student
I agree.
enrollment is not going up. So chapter 70 is based on pupils. So it will decrease if our student population is decreasing.
But we're in FY '22 now, right?
Right, but they don't seem to have the actuals there yet.
I mean, their budget was based on these numbers.
One would assume.
So they spent $811 more because they were getting it from chapter 70. Now they're only getting 57 projected,
But did you
but
see?
they're gonna still spend a lot more.
The E and D for FY '23, that's their equivalent to our free cash. See that number?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big number. It's a pretty significant increase. It more than offsets the Chapter 70 decrease.
Well, it's
Right?
about half
$479,000 increase.
versus 810.
Yes, by millions from 22 to 23. Plus, they've had the ESSER funds. $872,000 of ESSER 2 and
Yeah, but the ESSER 2 is only for new program startups. And whatever they don't spend in new startup programs, they have to give back. Which is why we couldn't use it for last year.
I respectfully, based on a limited amount of review, I would disagree a little bit. I think they're allowed to use it for anything that supports students with disabilities and learning loss that can be at all connected to the past 2 years, and that's a pretty big net. They have their, on the slideshow they presented to us, they are funding their coaches, the math and English coaches, partially from ESSER 2.
Okay, because then that should also fund the 6 new special education teachers. I would
One would
assume
think.
based on what you said.
We asked about the ESSER 3 money and were informed that it was all spent. And that's why my question is, should we ask to see what
Where?
it was spent on?
Yeah.
It was a significant increase from ESSER 2. And I double-checked the numbers. I got online, I got $872,507 ESSER 2, ESSER 3, $1,938,432. ESSER 3. A lot of money. And that's the equivalent to our ARPA, to be fair, which we're using to balance our budget by paying for capital needs. So it's in play in our budget. It's transparent. I just would like to see transparency on both sides.
I agree 100%. And the ESSER 2 is something that they get every year.
No, this is all, this
It's all
ESSER,
new.
this is the equivalent, I looked up what it meant. Wait a minute, because I know, Dan, you asked me about this. I actually took a screenshot of what this all means. Hang on. It's right here. What is ESSER fund? Congress passed several rounds of legislation to provide emergency relief funds to K through 12 schools in the form of elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund, ESSER. The first round, roughly $13 billion, and it went from there. So this is, I think, the flip side to our American Relief Act money, if I'm not mistaken. Sounds like it,
We got
right?
the CARES and then the,
And the American
then the
Relief. And they got
okay.
ESSER. Correct. And I mean, yeah, there are restrictions on it. I don't think they can give bonuses or raises,
Should hope not.
but, I mean, I'm thinking of a somewhat respectful letter that notes the difficulty of our budget, maybe citing at this point in time, Rebecca, that you think we're out of balance by 800,000, that and an increase in the form of 3%, which is what we're accustomed to, we could get behind.
I can put something together. I think that, but just to reiterate the concern, and sorry if I missed this, is just anything over 3% will impact our budgets substantially in terms of what we're able to provide for services and employees and their salaries, and whether or not positions are level funded that are not contractually already set, whether or not expense line items are cut, whether or not unfunded positions that we currently have that we're looking to refill those positions, we would need to keep them unfunded because we just don't have the money based upon anything over a 3%, with all the other rises in costs due to the insurance and other obligatory type of items that we would need to fund.
And to remember the point that was raised at our meeting about the Director of Human Services? I just found it. It's on page 2. Director of Human Services coming in at $115,000 in FY23 proposed budget. Good position to have if you can afford it. But if you have to push towns to either close services, which is, honestly, I mean, this budget is not about cutting your classroom teachers. So I'm just concerned that who's going to vote for an override to pay for the Director of Human Services?
So what you're saying is too much overhead.
I'm fearful of that,
It
and then
looks
I'm
like it.
fearful that our citizens looking at that and being, always have been very good about making sure their tax dollars get the most. If we're the only ones that don't vote the override, if that were to happen,
Yeah.
we're really in trouble. Really in trouble.
Mr. Chair?
I have a question on this page, total assessment calculation by enrollment as of October 1st, 2021. It looks like, according to this, and no, we're not taking in very many from outside the district, but in grade 12, it looks like, if I'm reading it correctly, we have we're taking in 9 students from out of district, 11th grade 5, 2 each 10th and 9th. I thought that we stopped the taking in students from outside the district about 5 years ago. I think that was, Selectman McDonald was arguing that point before, that it was a net loss for the amount of money that we get. We dish out more to educate the out-of-district students than we take in. And am I reading that correctly? You go ahead.
Well, the kids that are in the school choice get to stay in the district until they graduate.
Well, that's
So-
true, but I thought we asked 5 years ago that we stopped that, and they should have graduated by now.
Well, not if they're in kindergarten.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It'd take 12, the prior school committee in their infinite wisdom thought that getting $5,000 a pupil when it costs, 12 or 13 to educate them, it makes sense if you're short in a particular class and maybe you can sprinkle a few in, but the school district created a tremendous financial blunder and opened it to everyone in the past. And so I think at a high, we had 141 students from Haverhill and other towns. And we were subsidizing that to the tune of, 36 to 38%, depending on what our formula is. So that hopefully they haven't opened the doors on that floodgate, because we're subsidizing people that don't pay taxes in Groveland.
And just a cautionary note on that cover page here of this, where it shows the FY23 projected operating assessment, those are not the higher operating assessments that they're proposing. These are the 3%ers, right? On this page, the cover page from Pentucket,
And what are these 3
it only shows 300.
teachers, students? It listed, I'm sure it's probably just supposed to be teachers. Total teachers, 3. And this is listed with the, I'll bring it in, kids from out of the district. Anybody know what the 3 teachers are for? 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, 1 each.
Oh, they might be moving teachers around from one grade to another due to enrollment. Is it on the enrollment report?
No, it's on this, the enrollment, but it's listed under the same category as choice in students. Down at the Bagnell School, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, this is so much information to process, and we have so many questions, and I feel like the school district and the school committees are, bushwhacking us with this. Hopefully the tail end of a pandemic. So, to me, anything beyond Prop 2.5 or what we have maybe in available funds and overlay and, wherever else we can grab money. If 3% is the high water mark for us not to do a Prop 2.5 override, that's where I think this board ought to be. And if we communicate with the school committee that anything above that is dead on arrival, okay? And it's not appreciated how they did this. It's not appreciated how we get this last minute 11th hour spreadsheets. And are the numbers any good? And, you know, when the new school was sold to us, the 7 through 12, I thought it was supposed to save money. You know, now it seems like they're on a spending spree when everybody's worried about, you know, hyperinflation and cost of living adjustments. I think it's professionally rude of them to give us this the way they've done it. So, whereas, you know, Kathy, you say we should, you know, send them a polite letter. I don't know that we should. All right?
I think it needs to
I
be
don't know that we should. I don't want to be so
civil.
polite. All right? You know?
Direct.
I've been, you know, probably said myself and some other people, I'll pick my battles, but this is the battle. This one. Okay?
Okay.
5 or 6 years ago, I said it was dead on arrival. Like Bill knows my quotes as good as anyone, right? This one's dead on arrival. These people aren't going to swallow this. And if this board sticks together, and I hope we do, on this issue, that we vote unfavorable action on it, usually town meeting goes along with the board. Okay? Usually. They don't have to rubber stamp. We could have all kinds of, you know. But I don't know how they need to explain, and I think we need a buy year. At a minimum courtesy from the school district, we need a buy. Okay? We need time to digest this, and that's over the next year. And they should explain to us how much of this is the new contract and teacher salaries and increases. Okay? How much of this is necessary for unfunded mandates? How much of this is for transportation because we lost some funding?
Right.
All right? And I don't want a, you know, PowerPoint presentation by a slick salesman in here telling us we need to do this, you know, that your kid's education's going to go, you know, to pieces. I don't want that, you know. We can't process all this information and make informed decisions the way they pulled this off. So I don't appreciate it. I think it's professionally rude, and I'd like to send a clear message to the school committee. Anything that requires a Prop 2.5 override is dead on arrival in Groveland. And I hope that Merrimack's with us, too. Merrimack's not a bottomless pit. I don't know that everyone over there has an ATM machine in their house, okay? West Newbury's more affluent. They have more money. Everybody knows it, okay? So they can outspend us.
Well, they
you
don't
know?
need an override.
It's a tale of three cities is what it is. It's a tale of three cities.
They need an override. That's the difference.
We got people that aren't going to go for this. And this is an expansionary budget. This isn't like, oh, we got to lay teachers off if you don't. What if?
Expanding budget.
This is an expanding budget in a contracting economy. Are these people out of their minds? I think they are. They're gone.
Okay, Jason, you had something?
Yeah, I was really curious on page 45. The administration expenses up 19.9%.
Yes, I mean, if you look through the detail, you'll see there's a principal position that's going up 100,000. They're making a full-time athletic director position. I mean, that, again, I wish I could give you all of the numbers, but I have not had enough time with this detail to find it out.
Oh, no, I agree. And then,
I know 2 custodians are being added. I know that it was brought up at our meeting. It's not on the PowerPoint about that. What was it? HR position. It's there. I found it finally.
but then I would assume that the athletic would be more classroom and instructions. I mean, that's up only 7.19%.
No, the athletic director is not going to be in the classroom line
administration?
now, because there's no direct contact with students. This position would have nothing to do with the school day.
Okay, and then,
Right.
there's pupil services up 7%. That's
Correct.
$1.5 million. Then,
But they also have the
Maintenance is
ESSER
up
3
15.
funds still, you know?
the maintenance is up 15.
They're adding 2 custodians at least.
It's
I haven't-
543,000.
I know, that's more than
The
2
custodians, it was 110 is what they listed it
Jason,
as.
I haven't found it all yet.
No, I agree.
Maintenance-
I know. I just want to make sure I got this right.
Maintenance is only up 4.89. You get the,
Get the number above it.
yeah.
Okay. It's really hard to get through this.
But even still, I have to agree with you. We're replacing 2 very old buildings with 1 state-of-the-art building. Our maintenance costs should theoretically have gone down.
I can understand the maintenance cost, because that's 134,000. So I was looking at pupil services up
Yeah.
on top of the classroom and instruction. So you got $2 million increase right there on those 2. And then fixed asset replacement, up 379, almost $380,000.
That's, I think, the stabilization. That's their word, because I found that higher up in the thing. I think I found that line up.
That's up
above.
95%.
They're putting that, I think that's their words for stabilization.
So they're saving money while we're digging.
Yes.
So they want to save money
Yes.
and pat it away and give us the bill for the
Well, they
savings
put-
account.
They put the E&D, what they did with it, I don't disagree with, because we might think about it. They put their E&D, which is the equivalent of the free cash, in as a revenue source. But then down below, they're taking out, it's a, what I say, the stabilization, the E&D was 1 point something million. They're taking 778,000 of it, putting it in stabilization. Yeah.
So
That's what I think it is.
So they're okay with destabilizing us, but they'll stabilize themselves. A little selfish, don't you think?
We made statements. Rebecca made a very strong statement at the meeting on behalf of Groveland about the impact of this assessment on our town. A no-nonsense, not nice, straightforward. She told them the way it is. I just wonder, do you think it's worth sending a letter to the school committee, since they're meeting on this tomorrow night?
We just sent one last week,
I know,
and we got no response. Crickets so far, right?
I know.
We had that follow-up meeting with, but that was
I
just
think
us,
we
right?
need to be more specific. If we as a board can vote and say that we'll support up to 3% and not a penny more, then we could send that message. We're going to vote unfavorably on anything over X. We could do that.
We can do that, but we're running the risk if we don't get them to do that,
Well, then they're going to lose a town meeting here and in Merrimack. I can predict it, and I'll be out there lobbying hard and doing my job to defeat those people in the school district. They will go down in flames. I predict it. They're going to lose, and they're going to be embarrassed.
Do you have anything on a letter you'd like to send to them? You're 3%?
Make a motion that we will work with them to take care of business and to educate the people of this district, it's students, okay? Put the students first, not the teachers, not the administration, the admin administration. But my motion is this,
Just it again.
that we, as a board, will work with them on a 3% increase in the budget.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
can make a friendly amendment, a 3% increase in our assessment, because their percentage increases to us are much.
It's not linear, I get it,
Yeah.
it's an allocation.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Okay,
Second for the friendly
motion
amendment.
and a second. Further discussion? Anybody? None. All in favor of the motion? All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Motion carries. Do you want to have Rebecca do that, or do you want to formulate it and send it out to her? Dan?
You know,
I think it did some. What?
My idea, I gotta do the work, I mean, it's tax season,
Well, we
man, you
can
know.
make you a committee of 1 to handle that. Do you want to formulate it, or do you trust Rebecca to do that?
Can I work with Rebecca? I'd love to have a project with Rebecca and we can collaborate. Can we have a collaborative
Well, you better
effort
do
on
it
that?
quickly, because they're meeting tomorrow night.
Thank you. I was going to say.
I'll talk to you in the morning,
All right, sounds good.
and we'll work on it. You can draft it, and we'll talk on it, powwow.
We'll get it done quickly, so you can get it over to them.
I mean, you guys trust me, because, I mean, I might have some colorful language in there.
Absolutely
I mean,
trust you.
You know, I just...
Explicitly.
I mean,
I will not be using the colorful language.
Yes, I
My
trust
choice.
Rebecca will clean it up as best as possible.
you know.
All right.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay, next order of
Editor.
business, town administrator time.
I have nothing.
Nothing. Thank you. Selectmen's time. Jason,
I'm good, thank you.
Kathy.
I just have a couple of quick things about the talking trash presentation. I was hoping that we could get it on our cable TV. They gave me a link to it. I don't know if that means it can be on TV.
I need to receive it, or Chris needs to receive it to be able to,
Okay, so they need to get the link?
yeah, or the file to download, or.
Okay, I'll reach back out.
Done over Zoom too, right?
It's Jen Dempsey, I've been talking to you, it's Mike's wife,
you
but,
put it on a thumb drive.
So this was very interesting, a couple of neat ideas that came out of it that I just didn't even realize, that we can get these free litter kits, and whether we organize like a big cleanup on Earth Day, or whether people want to just grab them, like if we had them available at the library or something, you could get them, you could go and clean up while you're going for your walk, keeping the town looking beautiful. Kids could do community service, but you can get these kits for free from these sources, yes.
Could we use those in collaboration with the high school for the seniors to get their 40 hours?
Sure, I'm just saying, you know,
That
we
would be
can,
ideal.
we can, I guess you can sign up for these and we can have them in the town hall. If the Board of Health wants to get involved, the library wants to get involved, it would be great. And the thing that was most interesting to me is that the statistics that 26% of our trash tonnage is food waste. And if we were able to get a real good composting program going, and some communities have even curbside compost pickup. I don't know if we could get that, but there's a lot of savings that could be achieved by getting the food trash out of our tonnage. 26% is a high amount in our tonnage.
And what was the other? You had two things?
That was the litter, they're called litter kits, but they're a kit which would give you the gloves to pick up in the bag, so that if people wanted to, you know, just, they take walks, I take walks. If you wanted to just get a kit and go take a walk and clean up a piece of a street where you see garbage. You know, even not community service, just,
And I've seen families
know.
do that around the Pines, around the Merrimack.
yeah.
And I know that Mike Davis and his family do it at VC Park.
So I don't know if Rebecca wants to look into it. I know the library is getting the kits and just making them available, so if folks want to come down and get some of the kits and clean up, I mean, I think
Making
that'd be
people aware that
great.
they are available is probably going to be the hardest thing.
What's that?
Making people aware that they're available.
Right, and to that point, I guess there's been some confusion about where to get the zero waste bags. They should be at Obashan. They should be at Market Basket. At Obashan over the bridge, I know, they're right by the register in a big bin. They should be at Nicole's. They should be at Jerry's, right? And then the Liquor Mart over on South Groveland, is that the only other place or not?
Nicole's Mini Mart.
I said Nicole's, yeah.
Oh.
So Nicole's up there, Jerry's downtown, two
Abashan
places
and
over the
Market Basket.
bridge. Right. So anybody that needs those bags, they are out there. They're purple. And,
Okay, what was the other thing you had? You said you had two things?
No, I think I just have one. Oh, Jason and I met today, but we're gonna get some stuff together for you guys.
Dan, you have
Yeah.
anything under Selectmen's time? No. Bill?
Yeah, real quick, Rebecca and I took time out of our day a couple of weeks ago to open discussions with the Mystic Valley Rapid Transit Association, where we found out, much to our dismay, that we use Ring a Ride,
Ring and Ride.
Ring and Ride, more than any other community, almost, 5 times more than any other community around us. We saw that as an opportunity to start discussions about a fixed bus route in Groveland that could help take some of the traffic off the streets, give the residents some easy access to public transportation, and while they weren't really, they didn't shut us down. They were open to the suggestions that we brought forward and the routes we suggested, 2 simple routes. So the discussions began. Don't know where they'll go, but Rebecca and I have, and I think you're now a member of the Merrimack Valley Rapid Transit Authority Board.
Their board, yes.
So
The member community.
member community. So working to bring, trying to bring better services and more consistent services to the residents of Groveland. And hopefully we can succeed in the future as we have that big development go online. It would be big.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything. Old or unfinished business, anybody? None? Other items not reasonably anticipated, there wasn't any. Correspondence. New report news editorial written by Joe Demore. Letter from the Board of Health regarding the mask mandate. And we have an email concerning the school committee meeting February 15th And we have Nicole, you're on there. Did you want to say something about this? Thank you for staying on there this long. We didn't anticipate that it would be that long. Are you still there? She didn't hear a word I said.
Desi wrote the
No,
letter.
no, I'm here. I was just trying to open my phone and watching it on the TV at the same time, on the Channel 9. So there's like a little delay there, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys addressing that email very, very much so. And I hope you take into consideration what was said, because it was very shocking to hear that as a parent. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
That's it? All right,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Nicole. I mean,
Yes,
it said
I remember.
Yes.
Anybody got any questions or comments from Nicole, for Nicole?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Nicole, I don't think that's not one of our representatives.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Which is sad, but that person should make a thorough public apology for his very insensitive comments. Again, I spoke with Nicole. My brother was born without an ear, so I'm very sensitive to the hearing impaired. It's not a joking matter. It's not funny. And I think that person should make a public apology for the insensitive comments that he made. There's no need for it.
I go further than that. I think that person ought to resign from the school committee. It was over the top, not called for a person in that capacity. They should do the right thing and step down. It was insulting for an elected member of the school committee. I know it wasn't our representative, but it was embarrassing and.
Definitely.
No, I think more than just a public apology. The person ought to resign. They've had enough. It's not what they're elected for. They should resign. Dan, you had something?
I'm unaware of the comment, but,
Wait, they're not packet here.
It's in the
Take-
packet? Can I
Yeah,
see
just
it?
take a quick look at that.
Motion to adjourn at 9:33.
Nicole's still on,
Uh,
I think.
There's no second yet. Just let Dan just take a quick look at that.
Yeah,
You should read it
You had
before he
something,
gets
Jason?
here.
Go ahead.
I know.
yeah, I agree with you, Ed. I mean, you're in that position, and you really have to hold your tongue. It's really sad that it would come to that, but I know that people here are also aware of things that shouldn't have been said. And yeah, I agree. He should probably step down and attempt to make some sort of amends for his comments.
How would we convey that information to them? Should we convey that to our school committee representatives, the three of them?
Probably be a good idea, I think.
I did ask, that's why I jumped out to ask Ashley.
Excuse me?
I asked Ashley if this letter was before the school committee, and they do have it. I said, are you aware of a policy or something that they're going to follow on this?
I'm not,
And she wasn't aware of the policies because she's somewhat new. I just feel I feel really bad for you, Nicole, and for your child. I just think that once the words are out, you can't take them back, and it's very hurtful. And I'm so sorry that you had to hear something like that. It's never an excuse for it. Never an excuse for that.
comment?
I just, if you reach out to that committee member, maybe he'll apologize and truly be sincerely sorry. But I'd go to the source on that, and that's what I would do.
Do you think that we should formulate a letter to our delegation to backing up Nicole?
Yeah, it's, you know, I don't know. I could say things from time to time that I wish I could retract, and so I don't want to
No.
I don't want to make excuses for him, but you know,
Sorry.
if you talk to him, maybe he's sincerely sorry. But apology would be in order, certainly.
Jason, you want to put in a formal motion, we get a letter going out to the delegation?
I will make a motion that we put a letter in support of Nicole and to our 3 members of the board committee, the school board committee.
And you were going to ask for a resignation, an apology and a
I
resignation.
don't know that everybody on the board would support that. So I think at the very least, that we strongly disapprove of his comments,
It's a her.
or her comments.
Okay.
I thought it was-
There's a motion, is there a second on that?
oh.
I'll second that we
Motion and a
strongly
second.
disagree with it.
Yes.
Further discussion?
Yes, I think the letter should just ask them to follow their policy on this type of a complaint. They have a whole book of policies, I'm
Well,
pretty
there
sure.
is a motion on the floor.
Yep.
Do you want to you want an amendment to that?
Well, yeah, friendly amendment, the letter, let's ask them to follow their policy on a complaint on a school.
Okay, there's an
committee.
amendment to, by Kathy, to have the school committee follow their policy. Is there a second on the amendment?
I'll second that.
Second on the amendment. Any further discussion on that?
You know, I just, you know, I understand that it's, you know, it's appalling to some people, maybe everyone. But again, you know, if you talk to the person, maybe they, you know, I tend to give people a, you know, benefit of the doubt in terms of that maybe he wasn't in his right mind, and when he said it, maybe he doesn't really mean to hurt anybody, you know. But a rebuttal would certainly be appreciated from him on what his true position is.
Okay, there's we'll vote on the amendment first. No further discussion. We're voting on the amendment for the school committee to follow their policies. What if they don't have a policy? But
They have a lot of policies.
that's what the amendment is. All in favor of the amendment, and then we'll have to vote on. 2 in favor, 3 in favor, opposed, 2 opposed, amendment carries. Now we'll vote on the motion with the amendment applied. I don't think you need to restate the amendment, the motion, everybody knows what that is. So we're voting on the motion with the amendment. All in favor? Then we'll let it, unanimous. Thank you. Motion to adjourn, Bill?
Motion to adjourn at 9:38.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second? Thank you, Jason. I knew you were gonna do that. All in favor of adjournment? Unanimous, thank you. Dan, can I have that back?